What's up, everybody? Welcome back. We have episode 5 of Ahsoka the Breakdown. As always, Jared, our resident Star Wars expert, is here. He's going to help us get through this thing. He's going to help us give our predictions for next week. We've got 3 episodes left. We're going to see where this goes. But, Jared, I think me and you are on the same page here. This whole series has just been the best work of Star Wars we've gotten in so long. And this episode specifically has to be like, oh, man, I can't tell you the last thing we've gotten from Star Wars, especially Disney Star Wars, that's been on this level. Mando season 2 finale and Ahsoka episode 4 and 5, I feel like are on a whole echelon of their own, really, in terms of Disney Star Wars. So without further ado, we've got a lot to talk about, a lot of opinions to give. Let's get straight into this video. Jared, just your overall thoughts on the episode, especially with that statement I just made. Is there anything else you think is on that level of Disney Star Wars to go along with those 3 things?
Um, I think we're kind of forgetting about Clone Wars season 7 just because we associate that with another time
But is
of
there a
Star Wars.
specific, but is there a specific like moment from season 7 that you think puts it on that like high of a tier?
Siege of Mandalore,
Okay,
comes to
I mean,
mind.
yeah, you're right. That's fair.
And then everybody knows, I mean, the most iconic content we've gotten from Star Wars comes straight from the Martez sisters arc. I mean, I
That's
think
true,
I
but
speak
that's too high.
universally.
That's like a level above this. Like we
Yeah,
don't
okay,
compare
I'll,
stuff
I'll
to
leave
that.
that alone. So, yeah, it's on its own. But, yeah,
Right next to
we
Book of Boba Fett.
yeah, we've been eating really good with these episodes. This last episode and this one, together, I'm liking what's happening a lot. We'll get into everything a little bit deeper in a few minutes, but overall, I'd say I'm very impressed with the episode. I got a lot of things that I personally wanted to see. Saw some characters I wanted to see. Some stuff went down. I was rocking with it.
Yeah, I agree. I think the biggest thing I have to like note is that even though it was great on the runtime, it was 51 minutes. So we know that we've acknowledged that there's a lot of stuff that has to get put in here, and it looks like Dave is acknowledging this too with long run times for everything. It felt like the 51 minutes for the majority of it was put to use. There was a little bit at the end with the whole New Republic that I felt like was unnecessary and wasn't needed. But I felt like the 51 minutes was utilized. We've seen zero filler in an 8 episode series. Everything has been important. Everything has furthered the plot one way or another. That's my biggest takeaway. Because I know coming into this, me and you had those concerns: is would there be filler? Would stuff advance the plot? Or would we just find ourselves in another situation like with Mandalorian season 3, where there's not a lot of time and yet we're spending that little time on stuff that is so irrelevant? But I'm happy to see that everything has just been getting higher and higher. We're rising. Every episode feels like a new climax, and I know that we're not quite at the climax yet. So that's just been amazing to see. The rising action of this series is beautiful. That's been my biggest takeaway. As far as the episode goes, you're right. Like a lot of characters that I wanted to see, I got to see. Spoiler alert, of course, for anybody watching this. Captain Rex appears. Young Ahsoka appears. Clone Wars Anakin appears. Like we're getting everything that we want to see, and it's just beautiful. The one thing we didn't get to see was a couple months back was a huge leak that got reported was that Ahsoka would either interfere with or see the Mustafar fight between Anakin and Obi-Wan. We didn't see that, but so probably just wasn't true or scrapped. But everything else, I loved. I'm loving this series. You're right. We're eating so good. But yeah, I mean, my biggest takeaway is that we're utilizing the time right, and we're getting everything we want to see, and everything furthers the plot.
I absolutely agree. I think a big concern that we were having, not even with Mandalorian not utilizing its time properly, but especially Obi-Wan, you just felt like so much of that content could have been trimmed down, but
Exactly.
that's me leaning into, repeating myself. I've gone on record with this. I think we both have.
Yeah. And another thing too is when you bring up Obi-Wan, no unnecessary characters. That has been such a huge problem with Star Wars is that you add in all these BS unnecessary characters to fill certain holes, appease certain people, and just do certain things for the series that are just so unnecessary, and the characters provide nothing, and the fans pick on them and hate them. And I've loved that this series has stayed away from that. We've gotten only important characters doing only important things. Everything furthers the plot one way or another. Every character has a purpose. That's just been beautiful to me. It's been really fulfilling for Star Wars fans to finally get a series where it feels like everyone serves a purpose and everyone furthers the plot one way or another. You have anything to say about that?
Um, yeah, thinking back to again, I mean, I think a pretty good example is Obi-Wan. We had I don't even remember her
I think it's
name.
just the epitome of a mid-tier show that went horribly that had so much potential. Anytime that we see an issue that we want fixed, the place that you can track that issue to is almost always coming from the Obi-Wan show.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like we had some good potential with that Reva character, but
I don't even think there was, honestly. I think maybe if she had like not survived the gut wound and had served her purpose, but any good use for that character was ruined the second the end of that series came around with her finding out about Luke and all that.
yeah, completely unwarranted. I didn't really like Reva as a character, and by
Stupid.
the end of it, she was just kind of a raging joke anyways. So I don't really think there was any tension whenever she was on scene. I mean, obviously the Grand Inquisitor, to me at least, was a complete laughingstock by the
Yeah,
end of,
exactly.
I think like what the first, like the premiere when he got stabbed through the gut,
Exactly.
you know. So, and he really didn't even amount to, not neither of them really amounted to much across the series. So to have like characters in this show that are all there for a good reason. Every character has something to do. Ahsoka's, doing her Ahsoka-y stuff, title character, she can't really go wrong. She has stuff to do. Sabine has an interesting role in this.
Yeah, even
Hera's
though not
doing,
everybody likes the way they've taken Sabine's character arc, at least she still serves a key purpose. Like she is still an important character, even
absolutely,
if some people don't like the way that they're treating her.
absolutely. And then I'm also very happy to say, I guess spoiler alert if you don't know, but Jason Sindula, we were talking about this before we started recording.
Yeah.
I'm very, very happy to say that he is not just there to be Jason Sindula, and he actually does serve a really cool, at least so far, he serves a very cool purpose in this story.
Yeah, and
He's
I think there's a
actually,
lot left to like fulfill. Like I think he has a lot of story left to be written. Like this isn't the only time we'll see this kid.
absolutely, that's what I hope at least.
Yeah, me
I
too.
wasn't too excited for seeing him. It was kind of like, oh yeah,
It was more
that's Kanan's
intrigue than
kid.
excitement.
Yeah, but I think they've utilized him pretty well in this one episode alone. You know, um, for anyone who doesn't really remember or doesn't care about spoilers, just gonna recap it real quick. Jason Syndulla, after Ahsoka falls into the ocean, reaches out with the Force, and he can actually feel Ahsoka in the world between worlds, clashing sabers with Anakin, and it was actually very impressive. I thought it was
No, it
really
was
cool.
extremely impressive. But I mean, as expected, he's got powerful genes in that body of his.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it was nice to see he's utilized properly. He's a character that once I saw that he was in the trailer and I had it confirmed to me that I'd be seeing him, I became extremely intrigued just because, like you said, we know the heritage, we know where he comes from, and then we know the situation. Like, we know the weight of the matter in this era of Star Wars. We know there's not a lot of people with the ability to use the Force. So for him to, be growing up with Hera in the New Republic and Force sensitive, it does shock me that he's not with Luke. I would hate for that to be the route where they just like write him off because obviously if he, is alive, it would have to be explained why he's not in the sequels. I hate that for the possibility of his write off being he got sent to Luke and just got chopped down with the rest of them, and he's just written off that way. I mean, that would kind of suck. I mean, what do you think that's where they would send him? They just say he went with Luke, and when Kylo Ren did his thing, he was just one of the casualties.
Well, that's kind of the challenge of having any young Jedi in this area. I mean, we've seen
Exactly. I
them.
mean that you gotta just the only logical in-universe explanation is that they either die in battle, just don't feel like fighting with the Force, or they get sent to Luke and they get done
Yeah,
dirty.
at this point in the timeline, there's not a whole lot of excuses that they can really use. I
That's
mean,
the
we've
only one,
seen,
in
yeah,
my opinion.
Grogu trained for like a few minutes, and then,
They said it was 2 years, but we all know that's BS.
yeah, and then, I mean, right after that, he's right back with Mando just to have the status quo of, you not thinking about him getting chopped in half by
Exactly. Yeah.
Kylo Ren. What might have been interesting is if Grogu actually did stay with Luke, and then not only did he survive the Jedi Purge in Coruscant, but he also survived
Right. He would
Kylo
have
Ren's
been 2-0.
rampage too. Yeah, 2-0. That's nuts. That's a demon statistic. Wow.
This
Um,
is how powerful the man is.
yeah. So, but Jason, I'm almost curious to see what kind of route he goes down because I
Me
don't think
too.
he has a conventional Jedi training ahead of him, you
Unless the
know?
only conventional Jedi training I could see him getting is through Ezra, because I think by the time Ahsoka finishes with Sabine, she's not gonna want to take on another younger apprentice. And
Sure.
Jason, we'll see what even comes of Ahsoka in the future, because I know her I saw something the other day that her species actually lives to be like pretty old. So whatever age she is right now, it's like actually like, a lot younger than we would expect. Because I think for any casual fan, we just expect her to live to, you know, the human lifespan and call it quits. But now that I found out she can live a lot longer, even considering that, I don't think she wants to train another person after, finishing with Sabine. I think Ezra's the only logical answer. Um, Unless they like pull some BS of like Cal Kestis or something, but nothing like that really makes sense. Um,
Really hoping.
that would suck.
And I
But if
like
it's not
Cal
Ezra,
Kestis
then I
too.
don't know. I don't know if he just like doesn't become a Jedi, and that would feel like wasted potential. So there's a lot of interesting routes. I don't
Yeah.
expect answers on it anytime soon, unless we see something at the end of the series where Ezra comes back and starts with him. But that's the only thing I can think of as to him getting formal Jedi training.
It would also be kind of interesting to see if Ahsoka lives, kind of like Plo Koon, one of her old masters. I think the one who actually inducted her into the order. Plo
Yeah,
Koon had a insane amount of Padawans. He trained a lot of people. So
yeah,
it might, I think it might be cool to see Ahsoka go down a similar path.
that would be really cool. I just like her character and the point that she's at right now. Just like it doesn't seem like that's what she wants. It seems like she wants to just take care of this and retire off into the sunset kind of thing. I
Sure.
don't know. It's hard to get a read on it because obviously that would be great for her to train Sabine, finish that up, get her out, and then train Jason. But it just feels like she's not really the one to train Padawan. It feels more like Ezra's role if he came back, just because Ezra was almost like a son to Kanan too. Um, to where maybe the two could bond and form a relationship similar to that of like a young Anakin and an Obi-Wan. I mean, when you think about that for a second, like the Phantom Menace type of relationship between the two, doesn't that seem like what we'd be dealing with here? It feels like a perfect next generation of young Obi-Wan, young Anakin.
Yeah. That
Because
is what
and
it
this
feels
show has
like.
made plenty of Phantom Menace callbacks. I think that would be the ultimate one. Because and even now that I'm thinking about it more clearly, it just feels so like it just feels so reminiscent of that whole thing with those two.
So let me
And
ask you
really, I mean,
this.
yeah,
What do you think happens to Ahsoka? Because we don't see her in the sequel trilogy at all. And we don't really have an
yeah.
insane amount of content from that time, but we don't see her there. We only have up to right now this in, her timeline. So what do you think is going to happen to Ahsoka? Do you think she's going to make it?
It's all it's tricky because you really don't know. Because I can say the same thing about Ezra. We don't know that he lives to see the sequel. The only thing I know about Ezra is that it was confirmed at one point a while back that he was in a deleted scene from the last battle in Rise of Skywalker. That they had him in a scene, and I guess it was a deleted scene. Um, but I don't know. If something tells me that she just might not make it, that she might complete the mission, and for the sake of getting everyone home safe, she pulls at Obi-Wan on the Death Star and just becomes one with the Force. I just don't know. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of room left for her to operate after this whole Thrawn multiverse saga is done. I don't know, but I feel like I mean it's a crazy thing to say, but I almost feel like we can sense a retcon of the sequels coming as Disney kind of gears back and they kind of rear into more Dave Filoni central or centered like planning. I don't know. I mean, you hear whispers of it, but they're doing all these plot holes to get around everything. I mean, it almost feels like it's more of a possibility than people think that a sort of retcon could be coming to the sequels.
I don't think there are many people who would complain about that.
No, no, I agree.
Absolutely not.
But I think
Absolutely
that
not.
I feel like that this Thrawn stuff, because somehow the galaxy has to go from the Empire to fighting a mini war with Thrawn to something out in like the unknown regions with like the Chiss people of Thrawn and like all this other stuff that I've been reading about to then pivot all the way back around to the sequels. It feels like it doesn't add up. It feels like it's all so much crammed into one thing, and I could almost feel a retcon of the sequels coming and just pushing that aside. And the Thrawn multiverse, the Chiss in the unknown regions, and this new galaxy. It feels like this is the direction we're gonna go. But one more thing before I hand it back to you. You asked me where I think Ahsoka goes. If it's not like what I just laid out, it's the new galaxy is introduced. All these rebels kind of characters are put over there, and like the whole Mandoverse is put in that other galaxy, and they do their thing in the other galaxy. We're left with the sequels in our galaxy, and that's the direction they go. I think those are the two options that Lucasfilm is and Disney are going through here.
That would be pretty crazy to isolate an entire section of the universe like that, but
Yeah,
it
and
almost
yet it
does
almost
kind of
feels like
make
what you
sense.
have to do if you want to
Yeah,
make both coexist.
exactly, because otherwise there's just so much. I mean, like, there's some real characters here that
Yeah,
would be
oh,
doing
100%.
something during this timeline, of the First Order.
It's
So I
too many
think,
characters to just to have. It's too many characters to have to make up explanations on the spot as to why they weren't in the sequels.
yeah, yeah,
But I mean that's all good. Like these are all theories that we'll keep diving into more, and you know as we get some Star Wars specials coming down the line, just a special hint of what's coming to you guys as the viewers. We do have two end of the year specials planned for once the Ahsoka series wraps up, and then once the year for Star Wars wraps up, we'll get a whole panel on here, and that'll all be fun. But I'm sure that'll be the time where we just deep dive into theories for a long time, and I'm sure that'll all be great. Just to shift back into the episode here, we'll turn more to a general recap of what happened, and then we'll shift to our predictions. Just to give you guys a brief recap, Jared, you want to give like your, just a general rundown of what happened, vague rundown.
sure. So, the thing that we were all looking forward to, we get a lot of great Clone Wars content. Something I was initially worried about when we saw Anakin in his Revenge of the Sith robes was I was really bummed out because I wanted to see live action,
I know.
Clone Wars armor.
Yeah, that was what
Um,
I thought at first.
we ended up getting that. I was really happy with it. So we saw some sparring between Anakin and Ahsoka. Anakin flashing between Darth Vader, flashing between, just having a red lightsaber, flashing between getting his Sith, the yellow eyes. And then we've seen Ahsoka where, they cast a younger actor to play her in the Clone
Yeah,
Wars, which I thought was pretty cool.
yeah,
That
that
actor
they
did a
did. I
pretty good
thought she
job.
did a good job.
Yeah. We see um we see just a small little bit of information. We see I'm not sure what planet it was on, but we saw some Phase 1 troopers
I
charging in
think
the
that was
battle.
it looked like Ryloth because I see the people
Yeah,
running
and there were
around
Twi'leks
and
too.
someone pointed out what episode it was like season one episode like 9 of the Clone Wars something like that episode 9 or episode 19 maybe it was someone figured out the episode it was from too that the battle was recreated from.
Yeah, that would make sense with there were Twi'lek warriors running around
Yeah,
among the clones. Then we see Anakin, teaching a lesson to Ahsoka. Ahsoka isn't a huge fan of all the clones that are dying. She feels like she's responsible. Anakin tries to cheer her up, doesn't really work. But I think the lesson that he was trying to instill in her was, you gotta live. That's that's it. He was trying to encourage Ahsoka to, find herself out of the water. I guess she was on the brink of giving up then maybe. But we see that, then it jumps to the Siege of Mandalore. Now this is pretty interesting because Anakin wasn't there for the Siege of Mandalore, but he was there, spiritually watching Ahsoka, through her memory or whatever it was.
yeah,
And that was really cool. I was kind of hoping there would be a moment where Ahsoka acknowledges, Order 66 and like says to Anakin that that wasn't cool, man.
yeah, I know, right?
They
That would
could
have
have
been
had a
nice.
chat about that. That would
But I
have been
don't
pretty
think she
cool.
know like I don't think she knows that Anakin himself was like such a huge part of that. I feel like she only knows that it was like Palpatine. I feel like she just chalks it up to that.
I guess, but I mean, I'm sure she knows in some regard because she knows
Yeah,
Anakin's
exactly.
Vader. Vader was, Palpatine's right-hand man, but whatever. Plus, I mean, I don't think it's that hard to find, holo scans. I mean, Obi-Wan saw holo scans of him in the 501st marching up to the temple.
Yeah.
So I assume she would have known about that, but whatever. I mean, I get it. They had other priorities. So we see a lot of that. Then Jason, on the surface, the rebel, the rogue group that went to find Ahsoka, Hera, Carson,
Teva.
Carson Teva, um, and Chopper and Jason. They're all running around on the surface trying to find Ahsoka, and they can't because she kind of slipped through.
A little bit.
But Jason, this is probably one of my favorite parts of the episode of the
Hmm.
series, maybe, was Jason actually reaching out, finding where Ahsoka was, and then saying, "Hey, Mom." And then Hera ignores him initially, and then he goes, "Mom, Ahsoka's in the water." And that was a really great scene in my opinion. So. They hash it out. They look through some memories through that little broken orb thing, and then they hitch a ride on a space whale. So that's the gist of it.
Heck yeah, Purgle making a comeback, looking cool as ever. They look so good in live. I know you didn't get to fully see them in Rebels, but I mean they look crazy in live action. I was happy to see the Purgle, as always, playing an important part for this crew. I gotta say though, and that was a great rundown. You know, it's pretty much everything that happened that you anyone needs to know about. As far as the world between worlds, I would have liked to see like some portals. I would have liked to maybe see it take this like a walk down memory lane and like look through the portals instead of just like, just shifting, not off camera, but like we don't see the shift. It just takes place and that's that. I feel like that would have been better than the way they did it. But I mean, it's all like nitpicky stuff. I would have liked to like, I would have loved for Ahsoka to just see the Mustafar thing. It would have been so cool. During the fight, I know he cut to Vader, but I would have liked to actually like see him fight as Vader real quick, like when he turned to the Sith instead of Anakin. But I know that was like fan service because a lot of fans wanted to see like Anakin with a red lightsaber. I did too. I'm not complaining. I'm good both ways. It just would have been cool. I wish they could have fit all of it in there, but it's all good anyways. And then just that stuff, and then I don't even really care about that. My only real nitpick is that I feel like we're developing almost an unnecessary story. Like we're teetering on an unnecessary storyline with the whole like New Republic getting overly pissed with Hera and Ahsoka doing their own thing. I feel like, in my opinion, it's bordering on an unnecessary storyline. Do you think? I don't know. Do you think it plays a key part? Because maybe I'm wrong, and I'm just like finding something to complain about. I mean, that could be possible too.
They're really doubling down on the whole New Republic is incompetent bit.
Yeah, like I feel
That
like they're almost going like too far into
yeah,
showing how incompetent. It's almost like okay, like we get it. You guys don't know. Stop putting it in our like now. It feels intentional.
yeah, like I don't know how much more proof they need, man. I mean, Ahsoka
I mean,
fought,
the ship took
Sabine
off.
got
The
stabbed,
Eye of
yeah,
Sion shit like took off.
and the map is split in two pieces. Ahsoka is burned, she almost drowned, Sabine is gone. I feel like they have enough evidence
But
to
they
say,
didn't
I
even
mean,
display any of the evidence. That's what made me mad too. Like,
yeah, that was
okay,
a little ridiculous.
The New Republic is being like extra, but now you guys aren't even furthering your point. You're just sitting there, be like, no, no, we need to.
No, no,
No, like, come
guys,
on, let
believe, you gotta
us,
believe
please.
me.
It's so stupid. I mean,
It
like,
was a little dumb.
I hate to like force an issue in the show, but it feels like we're bordering on an unnecessary storyline with the whole New Republic thing.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of getting into bad writing, as if I could do better, but like,
No, I'm of course it's just like the New Republic being mad about it isn't in itself a terrible thing because we need to see that the New Republic was incompetent. It just feels like the level we're getting to now is just like okay, like it's
it's
enough.
bordering
I've had
on
enough.
like
Yeah,
being, you know,
the point has been pushed, so
cartoonish.
we get it. Yeah, I mean that's really my only like actual.
That's the only gripe I have with the whole series.
Yeah, I agree. Like that's like everything else I could say is nitpicky and it's just me like finding something to complain about, even though half of it isn't even complaints. Like I'm still fine with what we've gotten. This is the only thing that is like starting to bother me.
Yeah, and I'm sure they're gonna end up coming to the rescue at the end anyways, and there's gonna be a huge spaceship battle, and everyone's gonna clap.
Either they come to the rescue or they get attacked. I feel like it's one of the like maybe Thrawn just pulls up and he's like, "Shit, we're here. Like you guys doubted us and now we're on the
Yeah,
block, you know? Like we're here." That's the only it's either one of those two options and just I don't know. I don't know where we go with the New Republic cuz it is starting to get a bit annoying.
yeah. Well, hopefully that comes to a nice conclusion by the end of the series.
Agreed. We'll finish up with some predictions here before we wrap it up. Jared, what are your predictions for next week's episode?
I'm actually not too sure. I thought this episode was going to be like, I don't know what I thought was gonna happen really. I thought it was just going to be Clone Wars. Then next episode was going to be, okay, how do we go to, the other galaxy?
Were you
But they're
surprised
going right to the
we saw
galaxy.
no cuts to the Eye of Sion ship? Were you surprised we didn't get a single scene?
No, not really. I mean,
Okay.
they're doing their thing. I'm sure they're going to want to save it as a surprise. Maybe we'll catch up next week at the start of the episode. They just kind of show us what, they've been up to, but
Yeah,
we did have a lot of stuff we needed to get from the Rebel side of things.
that's true.
So I think overall, I mean, I thought that was completely fine. I didn't even notice it really.
I had no issue with
Yeah.
it. I was just I was expecting like maybe one or two cuts at the end or something, but no, I mean I have no issue with that.
Yeah. But man, I mean, we're gonna have like what 3 episodes in the
Yeah,
new galaxy, so
that's
that's
pretty
gonna
cool.
be
Yeah.
really cool.
Do you think?
I
Are you expecting that we see Thrawn on screen next week?
Next week I'm not sure. Maybe at the end of the episode, maybe in the middle of the episode. I think they're gonna kind of try and build up to it a little more. You
Yeah.
know, we're in the new galaxy. Okay, where's Thrawn? Maybe we not might not see the Eye of Sion at all, and then we just kind of get a reveal with him at the end or some shit, and they're like,
I
"Hey, we're
could,
doing this
yeah,
shit
I
now."
mean, I could see that, but at the same time, now we have two of the like now. I mean, you could say right now there's three major like parties that are on screen. It's we're either looking at the New Republic, Ahsoka and the crew, or the Eye of Sion. Now two of the three of those parties are in hyperspace, so it's like we got to put somebody on the screen.
Yeah,
I don't know. My my nightmare scenario for this episode is that we spend the whole episode talking like looking at the New Republic
I
and
don't think they would do that.
them dealing and like Hera and the New Republic's quarrel. That's my like nightmare scenario for how next week's goes.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna come to that, but
I really
that
hope
would
not.
be horrible. So I think we're gonna get a pretty by the books episode next week, and then the last two are gonna go crazy.
Yeah, we'll probably take a dip from this week. Like I feel like fourth and fifth we were climbing. I feel like we'll probably go back down a little bit and then it'll spike back up for the last two.
Yeah. So far, there's still time, but so
No, yeah.
far we haven't seen Merrick do any cool,
Yeah,
cool
I think we're
shit.
I think we're
I
done
think
with
we're I
him.
think we're over with that one. But another one that I'm kind of hoping to see, Zeb. We got
Yeah,
3 episodes left.
man, I don't know. If each the last episode felt like a perfectly fine time to bring him back, episode 4 was probably the best time to bring him back. I mean, what are we doing?
So here's what I was thinking. I think he could have been a just as good replacement for Carson Teva. I mean, I know they
Yeah,
kind
a
of want to
hundred
have like the
percent.
interconnectivity, between Mando and everything, but they virtually serve the same purpose, unless they're saving Zeb for like a cool save at the end or whatever,
You would
I
think, but I
guess.
mean, I don't know. I'm starting to think that it was more real world cause as to why he's not in it than in universe cause. Like
Yeah.
I'm starting to think like the actor just like was not around for this or something.
Either that or they didn't want too much of the budget going to his CGI because he was
Yeah.
digital in Mando, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be like one of those two things. I mean, I'm really hoping that he just comes to the rescue and maybe if it's only for one episode, then it's not too much of the budget, I
Well, I
guess.
just want to have him, spending time with everyone
I
together
mean,
on
right?
screen,
Especially
you
if
know?
Ezra's back. How does Ezra come back and he doesn't get to see everybody who's alive, like in the
Yeah,
crew?
that would be really weird.
I mean, I don't know. That's a good point. I do hope we see him. Do you have any more predictions before I give mine and then we'll wrap this up?
No, that about does it for what I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think we will get a Thrawn reveal next episode. I feel like this will be the first time we see him. An interesting possibility though is that we see Thrawn and we don't yet see Ezra. I feel like that could happen. Maybe they parted ways. I think it's about 10 or so years, so it's been a while. I think maybe they part ways. Um, I'm just so intrigued to see what has been going on in this other galaxy in this time span because I know they haven't just been sitting still, playing catch in the Star Destroyer for 10 years, right? So I mean, is Ezra captive now? Is Ezra dark? I mean, a lot of people are saying Ezra has turned to the dark side. I don't know what legitimacy that holds, but a lot of people are theorizing that he has now joined Thrawn as a sidekick or something. I don't know. People are saying that we're getting introduced to like these legends villains now, these alien creatures, and that's what this other galaxy is going to contain. There's so many things getting thrown around here. I'm just really interested to see what they've been up to for so long. I mean, is Ezra captive? Are they separate? What's going on? That's my biggest intrigue. I do think we're going to see Thrawn on the screen for the first time in the next episode, but I don't think we'll get any conflict. I don't think there'll be much fighting or anything. It'll be similar to this. It'll just be like seeing the characters get into place, get ready for the climax in the last two episodes.
I think I'd have to agree. That makes the most sense for what would happen.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that being said, is there anything you'd like to add before we call it a day here?
Yeah, well, whenever we get around to our yearly recap, we're not forgetting you guys out there, okay? We know I'm gonna be there with my yearly Lego Star Wars wrap up, just going over all the content that we've gotten this year. I know you're all waiting for it.
The Lego people have to be taken care of.
Yeah, we gotta make sure you guys are getting what you need.
Yeah, I don't really have anything more. I think we've had a great series so far. This has been just what we needed. Everything's kind of lining up cool. I mean, there's one more thing I will ask you about. A lot of people on like online were mad. They were claiming that Ahsoka beat Anakin in the fight, and it was just like woke BS and all this, and Ahsoka should never beat Anakin. I mean, and then I see the guy who I watch a lot, Star Wars Theory on YouTube, and I agreed with what he said. Like that's what I was thinking, and then he kind of confirmed it for me. Like, I'm surprised more people don't just jump to the conclusion that Anakin let her win because it was a training match. Like he wanted her to learn, right? Like, am I like almost reaching for that? Like, or do you think he just genuinely got beat?
I think either one is possible. I think attributing it to, you know, being woke or whatever, that's kind of, a little too incel for me. I think it's completely reasonable that Ahsoka Tano, after,
Yeah, I
you
mean,
know, a
I don't
really
think it's
long time of
woke
training.
to let the main character win a fight
I
of
don't
her
think
own
so at
choice.
all. I think that's completely normal. I
Separate from the
mean,
woke, though, I don't think she should be Anakin. Like they're like two separate things. I don't think it's woke that she wins fights and she's the main character and she's very powerful because we all know that.
sure.
But I also don't think she should be a prime Anakin who's balanced the light side and the dark side of the Force and fulfills his truest potential of the chosen one. I don't think that most powerful being in the universe should get beat like in an even fight. Obviously, I know he got beat here, but I think it was because he was wanted to see her win and was training her.
I mean, it also could have been not an actual, like, it could have been more of like a metaphorical thing. Like, she wins because she understands what Anakin was trying to teach her.
Well, I think it was they say she wins because she got the lightsaber at the end of the fight and like pointed it at him like she took his lightsaber.
Yeah.
I
But,
don't
I
I don't
mean,
believe that. I believe he just let her win. Do you think he got beat for real, or do you think it was like a training thing also?
I think any explanation is really possible. Maybe he let her win. Maybe he wasn't feeling good that day. Who knows? I mean, really, you could attribute it to any amount of, maybe he was, he didn't want to hurt Ahsoka.
Right.
It could have really been anything,
I
but
don't
I
think that
think
was his
either one is
goal. Like when he
possible.
ignited the lightsaber, I don't think the goal was to kill her. I think the goal was to make her realize that she wants to live and push her to the point where she like asserts herself and then he'll just let up and like what happened, give her the lightsaber basically. I thought that was the goal. Then I saw people arguing it and I was like, damn, I mean, I don't know where this is coming from. It felt pretty evident that the goal was that Anakin just wanted her to get the lesson and then he would quit
Yeah.
it.
That seems like a trivial thing to argue. I mean, we're not doing
Yeah.
like anime
I think
power
it's just
scaling
like
over
I think it's
here.
just more like interesting than it is like any real issue. I think it's just more like one of those open-ended debates.
Yeah, I agree.
But with that being said, we'll call it a day here. Until next week, we've got three highly anticipated episodes left. Jared, thank you as always for coming on. It's always a pleasure to have you, our resident Star Wars expert, doing this thing as always. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. Thank you so much, everybody, for 100 subscribers. So thankful for every single one of you that presses that red button. Make sure to turn your notifications on. Keep commenting stuff you want to see in the future. Thank you again. Until next time, peace out.